When you think of the future of video games and next-gen graphics and gameplay, what do you think of? That's right, the Xbox 360 from Microsoft. Remember the 360? It's fabulous, because the 360, despite some earlier build quality issues and a certain red ring of death, still works to this day. My original 360, still going strong, and I love the Xbox 360 catalog. It kind of reminds me of the PlayStation 2. It's huge and really diverse. Like, no matter what kind of game you're into, the 360 has you covered. And I reviewed a lot of Xbox 360 games on Classic Game Room over the years because it was like one of the main hot game consoles, the 360, PlayStation 3, and the Wii during that 2008 through 2011-12 era. Loads of Xbox 360 games. And it's still fun to collect for today, so let's check out some of the best Classic Game Room Xbox 360 reviews here on Best Xbox 360 Reviews, Volume 1 by Classic Game Room. It's the future. The U.S. is being attacked by James Bond bad guy villain. Hillary Clinton's evil android robot stepsister has been elected president. You're more likely to be killed by laser beams and robots than smoking, and shorty short skirts are back in style. It's Vanquish. It's awesome.
Source is coming up from within the substructure.
Need a bit more intel than that.
Right, so you can say that every shooter is just another shooter these days, but some have a bit more style than others. Vanquish is loaded with that awesome anime robot mech combat style, and the pacing in this game is extremely fast. There's no online multiplayer, but there are leaderboards, and if you're more interested in blowing up people online than watching chicks in short shorts and robots exploding, then, well, I can't help your priorities. However, you may want to look towards Transformers War for Cybertron, which is actually very similar to this game. If you enjoyed that one, you should look at Vanquish. It's a tricky game, one that's filled with end-boss battles, and the screen will constantly be filled with tracer fire and explosions as you plow your way through battle after battle. Similar to Transformers, you can essentially transform and zip around the screen for a short time, like Blur from the Autobots, until your suit runs out of power, leaving you fairly vulnerable to attack. Additionally, you can use a time slowdown effect while your suit is fully powered up. Using all of these tricks and tools at your disposal is the key to your survival in Vanquish. One of the things that I found really cool about this game, in addition to the style, which I love because I love robot anime, is how playable this game is once you get used to the controls. It's extremely smooth, even when the screen is filled with enemies and gunfire. Vanquish doesn't skip a beat. And it has a laughable, cheesy style to it that prevents it from being too heavy and too serious.
You know, I think that shock treatment actually fixed my back problems.
Bet you can get one of those things on eBay.
Fans of Transformers and Gundam, Robotech should focus their homing missiles on Vanquish. It's very cool. This is published by Sega and has an arcade-style scoring system that's keeping track of your score throughout the campaign. There's also challenge missions that you're unlocking, and if you're really interested in multiplayer, then look elsewhere. Seriously, it's not a multiplayer game. This is single-player campaign action only. But with such stylish, well-made, fast-paced gameplay combined with a scoring system, Vanquish should keep you coming back for more if you enjoy a playthrough. When in doubt, give the game a rent, but give the controls a chance. This is very different than a Gears of War or Splinter Cell. It's more about speed, which is why I think it's more like Transformers War for Cybertron. Also, stylistically, it has a lot in common with Cybertron, as you can see. I think the environment in this game is outrageous as you're plowing your way through a space station. There's land and rivers and city above you, and the designers use all of this in the actual gameplay to great effect. There's a variety of weapons that are upgradable as you play through the game, and while the color palette is a bit cold and muted and everything red is essentially evil, so they're easy to pick out of a crowd and shoot at, Vanquish has a very likable charm for fans of mech anime robot shooting explosion sci-fi cartoon things.
Remember why we're here.
It's directing like that that just keeps you coming back for more. Vanquish. Non-stop action, fairly stereotypical storyline, but it's well worth it if you enjoy the style. Obviously, it's a game I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm not as into the multiplayer aspect as many people. If you want multiplayer, go elsewhere. Otherwise, give Vanquish a spin for your 360 or PS3.
That must be a new type of robot.
Just digging its own grave. This is gonna be fun.
It's the Care Bears meets The Shining. It's Naughty Bear.
It's a birthday cake! It looks like they're going to have a magnificent birthday party for Daddles. And look at all those presents! Did you make that for Daddles? Oh, you're such a thoughtful bear. What a shame you didn't get invited.
Uh-oh. You don't want to upset Naughty Bear.
Annihilation!
Told you, bad things happen. Because you score wicked points for being naughty in Naughty Bear for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. This is the Xbox 360 version, and this is the funniest game I've seen in a long time. Intentionally funny, and each weapon in the game has a different kill move. So taking out all of these bears, frankly, never gets old.
Sticky incineration!
Now keep an eye on the top left corner of the screen and pay attention to how I'm being scored in this game. Because in addition to the variety of awesome ways that you can slaughter cute stuffed bears, the real highlight in Naughty Bear is how you're scored. Not just for killing and breaking things, but for also scaring bears. If they hear another bear being killed in the distance, you get points. If you catch them in a trap, you get points. If you smash things, you get points. If they watch you kill another bear, you get points. And there's a score multiplier, so the more bad things you do quickly, the more points you earn. Which makes Naughty Bear a decadent blast to play because you're rewarded for sheer chaos and carnage. Naughty Bear can be played as a casual, fun, humorous game, or it can be taken seriously and played as a real challenge. Because unlocking all of the levels and all of the different Naughty Bear costumes in the game is quite difficult. This game puts up a surprising challenge once you get into it. Now, it's somewhat complicated by the fact that the controls are nowhere near as good as the humor in Naughty Bear. The camera perspective in particular is constantly frustrating. And the whole game feels like it could have used some more refinement. However, that can be overlooked, because when you can do stuff like this, you can cut Naughty Bear some slack.
Oh, I see. You found a mythical Uni-Bear. They are marvelous, aren't they?
I think this game would make a great present because it's so immediately funny. If you hand this to your friend, they'll smile. Even the title is funny. The picture on the packaging is funny. You can play Naughty Bear at a party, and whether it's guys or girls, whether they're into racing games, shooters, Japanese role-playing games, everybody will get a laugh at Naughty Bear, unless they have absolutely no sense of humor or are complete game snobs, in which case you don't want to be friends with them anyway. Well, the controls aren't as good as Metal Gear Solid 4, and graphically it doesn't look like real life. Also, I didn't see what Naughty Bear's motivation was. Aren't I smart? No. Dude, it's Naughty Bear. Shut up. The game is really compartmentalized, and there's a variety of missions. Some of them are straightforward, you just kill everything, those are my favorites. Others are far more challenging. Sometimes you are not allowed to hit other bears while still having to rack up insane points. So you have to rely on stealth or capturing them in traps, as well as smashing everything in sight.
Defluffication!
As you play through the game, the enemies become more challenging. There's ninja bears and army bears. The bears will barricade themselves into buildings and call for support, so it'll be like Grand Theft Auto and you'll hear helicopters swooping in from the background. In some missions you have to rack up points in a certain amount of time, so the game definitely mixes it up in terms of challenging you with different levels, even though they basically all look the same.
Assassination!
How did this game get a teen rating? It has such a dark, morbid sense of humor that when played with these bright cartoon bears with names like Daddles and Cuddles, that you just can't help but like Naughty Bear.
You did it!
And while it's probably obvious, I have to compliment the designers on the music. The off-key kids' music is terrific and totally fits the game, and the narrator, whoever does the voice acting in this game, deserves an award.
Teamed up. I'm afraid that those bad fluffy bird cams seem to want to spy on you. How dreadful. Really, how rude it is to spy on people. Perhaps you should try and shut down as many of those fluffy bird cams as you can. Nautical!
In order to play new levels, you need to unlock them by earning points and trophies on existing levels, which frequently can be harder than it sounds. I found that repeat gameplay was necessary to figure out the best path to smash, kill, slaughter, and destroy. Because obviously, in addition to completing the level, you need to keep your score multiplier up.
Naughty. You failed!
And it takes a while, but eventually you learn to chain horrible events together, like capturing a bear and then scaring them until they kill themselves.
In conclusion, Naughty Bear leaves a lot of room for improvement, but I can see this series having a long life ahead of it, because it's so thoroughly enjoyable. But they need to fix the camera controls, because particularly when you're fighting indoors, you can lose track of where Naughty Bear is, or who you're fighting. I'd like to see some more diversity in the level design, but for a first outing, Naughty Bear makes an impression. This even has multiplayer. I'm already looking forward to Naughty Bear 2, and I hope they call it the Careless Bears vs. Die Little Pony. Here on Classic Game Room, I love video games with spaceships blowing up aliens or helicopters blowing up tanks, but what about purple-haired girls flying dragons shooting insects or something? Well, I like that too. It's Mushihimesama Futari for the Xbox 360. It only took about 30 takes to get that right. It's Mushihimesama Futari. What a name. A Japanese vertical scrolling spaceship shooter with, kids riding dragons or something. That plays on Western Xbox 360s, and play well it does, my friends. It's another cave shooter. We've got solid controls, crisp visuals, excellent music, and lots and lots and lots and lots of colors. Tired of those desaturated action games? Well, how about some Mushi Futari? Musha Atari Futari. If that doesn't sell, I don't know what does. Take that, you stupid dinosaur. I'll shoot you in the nose and you'll like it, because what's not to like about this game? Lots of things to blow up, like insects and whatever the hell these things are. Ill-tempered evil jellyfish and narcoleptic sea turtles. Sure, why not? There's two characters to choose from, each with their own shot pattern, a boy and a girl, both of whom are huge fans of Truxton. I like to play Musha Futari Atari in what I like to call the Iron Eagle mode, where I insert my Truxton cassette into F-16 like in Iron Eagle and blow up commie insect alien bastards.
I fly through space. I am a spaceship. My name is Truxton. I'm Truxton. Screw you. I blow things up. It makes me happy. My name is Truxton. I'm Truxton. Screw you.
Well, their first album's only available on vinyl and Edison cylinder. Oh yeah, if you ever get a chance to see Truxton on tour, you do it. To be fair, the music that comes with the game is also very good. Hooray, an achievement point! I can't read. 10G for something. Musha Atari also saves your high scores and has a 2-player local co-op mode, so you can blow up giant evil insects together. Although sometimes it's hard to tell which player is yours, so thanks to Dan for sacrificing many dragon lives for the review. There's also some other stuff on the back of the packaging that I can't read because it's in Japanese, and I was too lazy in high school to learn French, so I sure as hell wasn't about to learn Japanese. Although now I have a practical application for it. Damn it, if only my future time crystal had worked. got a big classic game room thank you and shout out to send to Mark from Antioch, California, who sent this game to the show riding on a giant insect. Mushihimesama Futari. It's a straightforward game, and if you like these games, you'll probably enjoy this one. So once again, thanks to Mark. What a great name. It sounds cool, doesn't it? It's like you throw something at a wall and what's left? A mark. I always gave my parents a hard time about that. Why didn't you name me Truxton? Speaking of which, did you guys hear that Truxton just released a new album? It's great. Nobody rocks a power ballad like Truxton.
Oh yeah, Truxton in the house again. All y'all ladies get up here on stage. Let's jam. Mushihimesama Futari. I'm sorry, nothing rhymes with Atari except more Atari. 7800 Pro System. For professional use only, baby. You know what I'm saying. I'm in love with a girl with purple hair who flies through the air on dragons, shooting insects with laser beams. So it seems she's the girl for me, playing Mushihimesama Futari. Oh yeah, it's not that I'm tone deaf, it's that this is a new style of music, y'all. Can we get another round of wine coolers up here? We need more mango. I'm gonna write a letter to the publisher and get this game on Atari 5200. Format C: Truxton's in the house again. What's got 5,000 buttons and doesn't play anything? That's right, it's the Atari 5200 controller masquerading as a functioning piece of equipment. Yeah, let's slow this down. I've got to wipe this tear out of my eye, everybody. Take a breath. It just saddens me that Mushihimesama Futari can't be played on the Atari 5200. That's right, it's got 5200 problems and the controller is just one of them. Oh yeah, thanks again. We'll see y'all next week. Tickets cost 3 yen. Come again.
Take that, you no-good criminals. If you want to put the smack down, then you've got to play Crackdown. Conveniently, those two words rhyme. You know what else rhymes with Crackdown? Fun. I may not understand how this rhyming thing works, but frankly, I don't care. I don't care because Crackdown has exceeded my expectations, and proven once again that when you put the word crack into a video game, it's inevitably going to be good. The same holds true for another game called Crackdown on the Sega Genesis, a Sega arcade game, not to be confused with this one. Although they both do have one major thing in common. When you spell them backwards, all the letters line up in the same order.
No HUD marker above a human target means it's a civilian agent. Try not to kill him.
Oh, wait, my bad. In this game, you're the good guy. Sorry about that. I really broken. No, I'm not. I don't.
Your indiscriminate killing of the innocent is unacceptable, Agent.
As I'm recording this, Crackdown 2, the sequel to this game, was just released, and I figured before I play Crackdown 2, I should play the first one. And this game was donated by Nick in Des Moines, Washington. A giant thank you, Nick, because this game is awesome. And to be honest, I did not think it would be very good because, for what it's worth, I thought the packaging looked cheesy.
And it does, but it actually makes complete sense after you play the game because it fits the style. It just didn't make a good first impression. Anyway, that's better left for an inane packaging review.
Your ineptitude is embarrassing.
And the style of Crackdown is a bit cheesy, which I like. It's got a comic book kind of extravagance to it. And even though it's a game where you can create mass carnage and waste thousands of virtual people, it's not really a dark, violent game. It's a lighthearted machine gun-toting romp through Pacific City. That's incredibly addictive because you enhance your super agent. The more people you shoot, the better you are at shooting. The more of those green things that you get, your agility increases. You can jump higher, you become stronger, faster, more handsome. It's Crackdown, the video game version of Crack without any of the nasty side effects. No, seriously, this game is wildly addictive, and the combat controls are great. I found the gunplay to be far more fun than Grand Theft Auto 4. Obviously, you can't look at this game without thinking of the GTA series, and as far as I'm concerned, this game feels like one of the older Grand Theft Auto games before they got really dark. Crackdown has a nice sense of humor. There's a lot of activity on the ground, there's obviously a lot of things to destroy. You can jump into cars and crush things and drive over people. It's a fairly sizable map, not nearly as large as some of the newer GTA games, but there's a lot of things to do. You can compete in races, there's tons of things to collect like those agility icons. You'll be constantly getting into gunfights and attacking strongholds as you're taking down gang members one by one.
Cleaning up the filth left by Garcia's scum and renaming the district Green Bay as a mark of respect to one of the agency's founders. Agent, your initiative and ability are inspirational.
And I think you'll find that the more time you spend playing Crackdown and the more things you collect and the more that you do, it's fun to actually watch your agent improve. In fact, you can't even play the later levels until you're adequately skilled. Terrific game, and what makes it even better, since it's an Xbox 360 exclusive and a very popular one, is that it's extremely affordable. You can even play with some friends over Xbox Live. The music in the game is excellent and not the norm. It completely fits the style of Crackdown. I've got a ways to go and I want to see my agent rise to the top of his abilities. I really dig the game. It's a nice mix of that Grand Theft Auto style and like a goofy superhero comic book. You can play the game almost indefinitely because it's just fun to play for one thing, but also there's all these things to collect and upgrade your agent, and to me the game never got old. They've done a nice job to keep this game entertaining for a while. Crackdown. As the title would suggest, it's hard to put down crack. The game, Crackdown. Crackdown. I'll see you again in the review of Crackdown 2, the sequel to Crackdown. Crackdown 2. Crack Boogaloo.
Take it easy, Agent. Peacekeepers are on your side. Agent Flambe.
This is Burnout Revenge, the game that teaches you how to drive a taxi. Now, I'm just kidding. That's an insult to taxi drivers. They're much crazier than this. The object of this game is to drive like a complete maniac and smash your opponents into oncoming traffic or buildings. As you can see, this game is lots of fun, and this is one of the earlier Xbox 360 releases, therefore, it's extremely affordable today, and easy to find. I have Atari cartridges that cost more than Burnout Revenge. You really can't go wrong with the Burnout series. They're not great driving games, but they're awesome arcade racers. They have reasonably solid driving controls, but most importantly, they're over-the-top fun. Burnout Paradise is my favorite in this series, and it's just an amazing game, where they basically just expanded on this game and opened it up into its own world. Paradise City. This one is more compartmentalized. Each of the races take place in different environments, but they're not linked together. You have to go in and out of menus to play them. There's a variety of different races. Some of the events like this one, you're driving to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. There's some races where you just have to survive getting from point A to point B. Races where you're supposed to crash all of your opponents. And others where you wreck as many cars in traffic as possible. Really, what's not to like about this game? It's the perfect arcade-style driving game. Easy to pick up and play, difficult to master. There's numerous events in the game, dozens of them, and they get more challenging as you level up. This game was pretty heavily hyped for online gameplay. I don't really think there's many people playing online these days. Burnout Paradise is probably a better choice for that. The strength of Burnout Revenge is that it's super affordable and unbelievably fun. In most games, I would be annoyed by the stop and start nature of gameplay. When you crash your car, it goes through a very elaborate slow-mo sequence of your car being obliterated. In the Burnout games, you almost want to crash intentionally just to see it. There's some very clever audio mixing and sound design in the game, and a huge mix of alternative pop music, as you can hear in the background. Lots of good low-end rumble in the game as well. It's a good one for a subwoofer. I'm not sure I fully understand the purpose of these crashing events, but they're certainly great stress relief. What are these cars carrying? They're like packed with napalm. Burnout Revenge. It just makes me want to play more Burnout. The game never burns out, seriously. It's a good name for the series. Where the fun never burns out. Something upbeat like that. They could have a jingle. Burnout Revenge. I'll end this review by showing cars crashing.
Vanished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where every day's a great day to blow up aliens in space, especially when it's as much fun as this. It's Galaga Legions DX. Double Extreme. Guest starring Pac-Man. So, here's a history question. What game was Matthew Broderick playing at the beginning of War Games? If you said Missile Command, you would be wrong. It's Galaga. Namco's 1981 Space Invaders-inspired arcade classic. A game that has very little in common with this one, actually. Galaga Legions DX takes some of what made Galaga a lot of fun and just sort of explodes it all over the place. That's my scientific explanation. I find it difficult to explain how to play this, because it's the kind of game where I think you need to get the feel of it to understand Galaga Legions. Because if you go in expecting old school Galaga, you'll just be confused. It probably has more in common with something like Space Invaders Infinity combined with Geometry Wars. Two excellent games, and Galaga Legions DX is tons of fun, and at the time of this recording it's actually free on the PlayStation Network, if you're a PlayStation superfan. You can also get this on Xbox 360 and Nintendo 3DS. Galaga Legions is a twin-stick style shooter that gives you more leeway than you might expect considering how much stuff is on screen at once. It looks like you're always going to be instantly vaporized at any moment. But if you keep your cannons out in front of you, you can actually withstand quite a bit of punishment. And the more you play, the more you'll figure out which of those things on screen are bombs that'll blow up a bunch of other things. You'll also figure out how far you can push your ship into enemies before it blows up, and it's pretty far as it turns out. I think this is the way to remake or reimagine classic arcade games, because it may share something in common with Galaga, and I like the name, I mean, who doesn't like Galaga? But it doesn't try to just put a fancy coat of paint on the classic old school Galaga gameplay, which works fine the way it is. It's something different, and I like that. I also like the game, that helps. It's not terribly difficult to make your way through the game on normal difficulty. Harder is probably a much more exciting challenge for fans of this style of game. But I'm still not really sure what the best way to get a high score is. It seems that completing levels quickly is the way to go, so putting your cannon on a single shot and just diving into enemies head first. Sounds insane, but it works well. At the end of each stage, you get a fancy little readout letting you know how you did.
Reporting. Sending battle data to headquarters.
There's also challenge levels and global leaderboards, as well as the option to choose from several visual styles or skins to make your game look different. Some levels are definitely better to be played with the single-shot cannon, while others are designed for the spread shot. And my impression of this game is that it has more depth than meets the eye. Each time I would replay a level, I would increase my high score, and I'm not entirely sure how, except I think I was playing more aggressively and would choose the correct weapon going into each round. It's a very cool game. I think it looks and sounds great. I love the visual style, and if you watch this show, I think you'll enjoy Galaga Legions DX. These aren't the droids I'm looking for! Out of my way! Die! Stupid gonk droid. When the droid beeps at you, it's laughing at you. Make those bleeping rolling monstrosities pay for their sins in Star Wars The Force Unleashed. The most Lando Star Wars game I've played since The Empire Strikes Back on Atari 2600. And that's quite a compliment, because that game had AT-ATs. And so does this one. This one also allows you to electrocute Jawas. Dink, dink, dink. Ha. Oh wait, he's still moving. Oh, well, we gotta finish him off. Can't start a proper review without killing Jawas.
My being here has never been about my piloting.
That's right, it's because of your winning personality. Hey, I love this game. It doesn't waste the franchise title, it doesn't spit on old school Star Wars. It has terrific characters, and the storyline is cool, the gameplay is excellent, and it's all around Lando.
Head through the bottom of that blockade.
Sadly, this game is not about Lando. See, that would be a different game. They should make that Star Wars Lando Unleashed. Where the gameplay consists of seducing alien women and mixing fantastic cocktails.
We have the entire galaxy in front of us. And yet, for the first time in my life, I don't know where to go.
To the Lando system. This is a different game. This is Star Wars The Force Unleashed, where you play as Darth Vader's apprentice. Quite a popular game. I'm sure many of you have played it for one reason or another, probably because I'm usually underwhelmed by Star Wars games. It's taken me a few years to get to it. Now the good news is the price has crashed in that time, so you can easily find an affordable copy today, and as I'm recording this, it's near the release of the sequel. Disco dancing AT-ATs, anyone? I hope so. TK421, why aren't you at your post? Die, stupid extras. There's more to this game than just electrocuting Jawas and stormtroopers, but there doesn't need to be. That's what's great about it.
Now go, and remember.
Now, seriously, the Apprentice is the best Star Wars character I've seen since 1983. I need to find an action figure of the Apprentice and then put him in my G.I. Joe vehicles and crash him into the Transformers. They don't have that in this game, though. But they have lots of other cool things. Like seriously awesome gameplay where you use the Force and your lightsaber to kick some ass from one star system to another. Does Cobra have a union? Like, do they get pissed off if, say, the Empire soldiers are driving Hiss tanks? Is that some kind of violation? Talk about two totally inept branches of fictional militaries. Cobra versus Stormtroopers. It would be a bunch of missed shots and people ejecting out of airplanes for no reason. They need to make that game. They had G.I. Joe versus Transformers comic books, except they were complete fiction. The Transformers would have just stomped on them. Completely ruined the realism of what could have potentially been a very believable comic book concept. Never. No, it wasn't. Back to the game. It's kind of like God of War meets Star Wars, which is kind of like giant beer meet empty glass ready to drink. You run around and kill things with a lightsaber, which is just cool to begin with. As you play, you upgrade your apprentice and get piles of new moves as well as new Force skills, and you can electrocute people using the Force. And I could kill all of these bad guys with a variety of moves, but it's far more entertaining to grab them with the Force and just throw them into walls or off of cliffs. That never gets old. Now, as good as this game is, I could have done without the whole QuickTime button prompt things. Some of which feel like they're lifted straight out of God of War. And they cheapen the game a bit, because you can't concentrate on the beautiful visuals and the action because you're just staring at the button prompts. It's kind of a cheap trick. That's a minor complaint compared to the whole. You know what really shines in this game is the sound design. They pull original sounds out of the Star Wars films and use them properly and to great effect when you're fighting in the Death Star and the laser goes off. If you've seen the film 1,000 times, it works. That you can just hear in the background the and of course there's the John Williams music and just the random noises in the background. It just captures Star Wars. You witness the birth of the rebellion, and it's a terrific storyline. I think this will appeal to new fans of Star Wars as well as those of us who really haven't moved beyond 1983's Return of the Jedi. I like my Ewoks with zippers, please, no CGI. And that's the game, Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I'm already looking forward to the sequel, Star Wars Lando Unleashed, a game where motion controls are used and not gimmicky because you need them to accurately replicate mixing drinks for alien ladies. How else could you get the feeling that you're really using a hydro spanner to blend up some smooth, refreshing cocktails in space?
Take effort. Just play nice with each other, kids.
Welcome to Classic Game Room, coming to you from the Intergalactic Space Arcade. Here's a life-commanding JRPG on the Xbox 360. It's Tales of Vesperia. Rated T for a bunch of things, including suggestive themes. Suggesting what? Would we really call that suggestive? That's more implied than anything. After all, this is a tale of love and adventure. A tale of action and excitement. A tale, or tales, of Vesperia.
There are various incentives for getting along with me, you know.
Get ready. I'm taking you down.
A 2008 release for the Xbox 360, a giant JRPG with enormous production values, good music, and lots 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 of grinding. Strengthen your thumbs for this one, kids, because you'll spend a lot of time mashing the B button. Tales of Vesperia is a cool game, and I don't play very many of these anymore. While I tend to enjoy them, you need the time to play a game like this. Although it's a good one to unwind with at the end of a day, play an hour, kill a bunch of things, level up, and move on. On the plot side, your main character is named Yuri.
Don't get sloppy!
Who's like the criminal with a heart of gold and starts off hunting for a Blastia core which was stolen from the slums of the capital city. Basically a giant cork that kept the water in place. You quickly make some new friends, starting with the pink-haired girl named Estelise, who's the princess, of course. But no robot exoskeleton. Can this really be considered a JRPG? If only it had a busty girl with purple hair, giant ears, and... oh, it has that. Okay, it's a JRPG.
With Judas seducing the guard, this plan can't fail.
I'll do my best to live up to your expectations, Carol. What can I do to be like Judith?
You should start with gravity-defying ears. Beyond the obvious sarcasm, it looks like somebody's ready for Comic-Con. Tales of Vesperia is a charismatic JRPG with some extremely likable characters and a plot that should keep you occupied if you're into games like this. Along the way, we meet Flynn, who shares the packaging artwork with Yuri. He's a boyhood friend and a goody-goody captain in the night. You'll hunt down the Blastia core and then try to figure out why there's a giant flying dragon that's talking to your pink-haired girlfriend, but not really your girlfriend because you need tension throughout the entire game. Come on, Yuri, haven't you seen Empire? She likes this scoundrel, and you're a scoundrel. I should write these games. They would be so awful. Because your party would never leave the first inn. Screw this kingdom. Somebody put Duran Duran on the jukebox and order me another tankard of mead. I'm about to level up. You tell him, Rapide, my pipe-smoking dog.
Now, interestingly, the packaging does not warn me of tobacco usage. However, there is an alcohol reference, so I'm assuming the dog is also drunk. Whether or not you really like these games, you gotta admit that Tales of Vesperia looks great. It also plays well. Instead of just picking commands during battle, you actually fight them, although most of the time you'll just be mashing buttons. You can even just kick back and let your team do all the work for you, because I'm lazy.
We finished.
Great job, team. I was checking my messages. You can even play with up to 3 of your friends co-op during battle, and make your least favorite friend play Carol.
I got no time to think.
Just follow these kids on their journey and kill everything that moves. Tales of Vesperia is probably not a game I would have played, except a copy was sent to the show by our friend Jared from Independence, Missouri. In the Starfy review, I said Tales of Vesperia was sent to the show by Sebastian in Scotland, but Sebastian actually sent Tales of Graces.
It's nothing personal.
Which will be the next life-commanding JRPG after this one. All these tales, no flippers.
Do you know something about this box?
So, yeah, just stay dead.
Oh, Raven, you're so clever and witty and old. What is he, like 28? Man, he's over the hill.
Scribed formula? What do you mean?
They are most commonly known as Apatheia, of which the clear...
As you're playing Tales of Vesperia, make sure to play as each of the characters in your party. Learn their moves.
They're bouncing. What are you looking at? I wish I could bounce.
Wait a second. What was that? I think that was another suggestive theme. Back to the inn. It's ladies with swords drink free night. Later in the game, you'll obviously meet some more powerful foes, so it's best to know who you want in your combat party and who you'd like to be playing. I found Yuri to be the most well-rounded. He's good at close range and can just sit back and Azure Edge everyone over and over and over and over again. I'll just sit back here and launch things at you from a distance while everyone casts healing spells on me. It's called the strategy of cowards that don't want to get their hands dirty. My strategy. So what else can I say? I think there's a fair amount of depth to each of the characters. The storyline is somewhat interesting as you start to try to unravel what's going on in the world with air and with monsters. And there's lots of things to pick fights with and destroy. So if you like JRPGs and a good sizable combat adventure game, then I would definitely check this one out. This is on the Xbox 360. It's a good time. I'm still playing it. It's not my typical genre of choice, although I enjoy games like Phantasy Star and Dragon's Dogma. I like this one too, although it's totally different. It's Tales of Vesperia. Thanks again to Jared in Missouri. Set aside some time if you're going to play this one. It's a fantastic tale, ready to be told, as the fates of 2 friends traveling separate paths intertwine in an epic adventure of justice, trust, and friendship. Aww, that's heartwarming.
Yay!
All right. How about a hug?
I don't think so.
Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I have an Xbox 360 game console here with Ms. Pac-Man on the front of it. It's a special edition. And I hear they just released the Xbox One, which means this one must be the future because it's 359 ahead of it. Released in 2005, there's many viewers who probably consider this thing a classic game system. Why, this Xbox 360 is so old it should have a wood grain finish and knobs and switches on the front of it where you choose between black and white and colored televisions. But no, it actually has an HDMI output for high-definition video, and it connects to the internet. All of this from 2005, back when dinosaurs battled Model Ts with flamethrowers, and it was awesome. Or was that's just how I remember 2005. That's how I remember last week.
This is my original Xbox 360. It's taken me this long to review it. I bought this when it was reasonably new back in 2007 or so, and I've since upgraded the hard drive to a 250 gig hard drive. It red ringed of death on me. A couple years ago, I filmed some videos about that, and they fixed it under warranty. It has had no problems since. I've played many games on my Xbox 360. In fact, most of the classic Game Room reviews of 360 games were made using this game system. The addition of Ms. Pac-Man never hurts. I like the 360 because you get great performance for the price. Especially now that the Xbox One has come out, Xbox 360s are dirt cheap and the games are even cheaper. Here's a close-up look at the controller, which I reviewed years ago. It still works, still runs on batteries, and most importantly, still plays games, and there's a lot of games available for the Xbox 360. All kinds of games. Driving games, shooting games, arcade games, even Sega Dreamcast games. But is the Xbox 360 better than the Sega Dreamcast? Never! Let's not go that far. The Dreamcast has personality. The 360 has an enormous game library, and it'll play a lot of the original Xbox games, as long as you have the model with a hard drive. It won't play Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, but it will play Panzer Dragoon Orta, which is by far the better of the two. By now, I have amassed piles of Xbox 360 games, and I've never really gotten into the whole PlayStation 3 versus Xbox 360 console war because I absolutely don't care, and they're pretty much the same game system. The 360 is traditionally cheaper, but the PlayStation 3 plays Blu-ray. There's your big difference, but they both pale in comparison to the Sega Genesis and Vectrex. The 360 has an external power supply. You push that little button there to open the disc tray, and after many years and hundreds of hours of video games, it still works, and still delivers great performance. The fan in this thing is loud as hell, so I also have the smaller 4 gig model, which I use at home, and I previously reviewed that version. This one has the big hard drive, which is required for games like Grand Theft Auto 5, old Xbox games, and downloading stuff from Xbox Live or whatever. You know what the Xbox 360 can use? More first-person shooters. To clarify, more first-person shooters like Wolfenstein. There's just so many great games available on the Xbox 360, and many of them are really cheap today. A lot of different kinds of games. First-person shooters, obviously, driving games, fighting games like Rumble Roses, Double X. And I haven't even gotten started on Kinect. This is mildly exciting because it's the first time I've ever actually plugged the Kinect into my Xbox 360, and I'm going to play Kinect Adventures because, wow, does this look great. I love motion controls. Love them. So I want to download an update. Does the update make it not suck? You are the controller. So, before I start making fun of this thing without mercy, because I hate motion controls, I do like the Xbox 360, and I highly recommend one. It's affordable, it has great games, lots of great games, it plays a lot of backwards compatible Xbox games, and now let's really see if this thing is better with Kinect. Music's better than the game. I just want to freak out everybody who's been asking about these. Would you rather I play this or Kinect Adventures? I'm through with you, Kinect. Connect this. That's the digital sad sound. Signal lost.
Isn't that an awesome sound? That's the best part of this thing, when you turn off the Kinect. Here's a game that shows that you don't need an expensive retail packaged copy, multi-billion-dollar marketing budget, or 10-year franchise history to have a good multiplayer shooter. It's Blacklight Tango Down, a downloadable shooter for Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation 3, and PC. And while the game doesn't do much to separate itself from its competent competitors, you easily get what you pay for if you're into multiplayer first-person shooter combat. Shooters are a dime a dozen these days, and I find that people tend to overanalyze them when trying to describe them. You can see what the game looks like on screen right here. This is the game, I'm playing it. I'm getting my ass kicked, but that's normal for me. Actually, I didn't do that bad once I learned the maps. The gameplay is extremely easy to pick up because it's nothing you haven't seen 1,000 times before. Blacklight Tango Down is like a mixture of Halo meets Modern Warfare, but not nearly as ultra-violent as the Modern Warfare games. It's got more of a comic book style. Fans of MAG on the PlayStation 3 will probably dig this game, because it's a straightforward shooter. The maps are decent, I wish it was a bit more colorful, but overall the game looks nice, it plays well, and that's what's important. Gameplay. The gameplay is traditional first-person shooter. There's a single-player campaign, but it doesn't really amount to that much. If you want a good single-player storyline, you go for games like BioShock, Singularity, or Red Faction. I'd really only recommend Blacklight Tango Down for those of you that enjoy multiplayer. There were lots of people online playing when I dove into some team deathmatch games, and the competition was fast and friendly. And that's a great compliment for any multiplayer shooter. There, that's the review. There's no need to overanalyze this one. It's Blacklight Tango Down. But let's watch some more gameplay, because it's the kind of game where you play and level up your character to the point where they unlock new guns, new armor, and all the guys kind of look like Halo guys. There's your typical variety of machine guns, shotguns, sniper rifles, and when you get different ones, the scopes are different. You get grenades and like little digit bombs which blow up and then make your screen go crazy like something out of Ghost in the Shell. I dug the game because of its simplicity. Typically I prefer more of a science fiction campaign single-player storyline, but for multiplayer I like a very straightforward game like this one. And it has health packs, so you can't just hide in a corner and regenerate all your health. Combined with some moderate regeneration, you regenerate up to a certain level, and then to fill your health gauge, you've got to find a health pack or a health pack bin. During the campaign mode, you can easily just kind of turn around, backtrack, and get health. When you're playing against the computer in the single-player mode, the enemy AI is nothing special, but like I said, this game is really meant for multiplayer, and for that it does a great job. It's affordable, it's playable, and at least on the Xbox 360 version, which is what we're watching here, it works well. Gameplay was smooth, and I had no issues. I like that you're rewarded for leveling up. It has achievement points. Blacklight Tango Down. This is the beginning of a franchise, so I expect that we'll see more of these, and hopefully more maps, with more color, please. And more soft drink advertisements. I really need to know what other brands of soft drinks are out there. Let's get creative. I want every surface in this game covered with drink ads from Mr. Pibb, Cherokee Red, Slice, Jolt, Mellow Yellow. Come on. More. Blacklight Orange Faygo Down.
Blacklight. Objectives failed. Final build to mission success. Blacklight. Mission success.
This is Afterburner Climax from Sega, adrenaline-pumping eye candy with explosions. It's like Top Gun mixed with a bottle of napalm. It's fun, but it's short. It's for those of us who enjoy arcade-style scoring. Short games where the objective is to rack up as many points as possible. You can compete in global leaderboards or just compete against yourself. But wait, there's more. Just listen to the music. It's the Afterburner 2 music, one of my favorite games on the Sega Genesis. I've been looking forward to Afterburner Climax for a while. I had high expectations, and in some areas it's exceeded them, in others it's fallen a bit short. Like the game itself, it is very short. I think we've all just become spoiled these days with extremely long games. This is fairly true to the old school Afterburner style. The game itself won't take you very long to win. I've beat the game at least 7 times by now. The fun part is racking up as many points as possible, because winning is easy, scoring over 2 or 3 million points in a game is not. There's a climax bar on the bottom left, and when that fills up, you activate the climax thing, which sort of electrocutes all of the other airplanes and slows them down, giving you a chance to lock onto more of them at once and then blow them away. Doesn't really add much to the gameplay. Makes for a neat title, I guess. I could take or leave that. The strength here is simply the smooth gameplay, fast-paced action, and the Afterburner style. It's a bit like Outrun with a jet. You're being scored for the distance that you travel. You're not scored by cars that you pass, but obviously you do rack up points for blowing away enemies. Sometimes you can choose your own direction. There's secret levels. There's objectives that, when completed, will unlock different options for gameplay. You can make it easier, you can make it harder. After you win the game several times and unlock various things, I think the best part of the game is simply the score attack mode, where you can then post your score to the global leaderboards. If you don't enjoy arcade-style scoring and short, fast games, then I would not recommend Afterburner Climax. Then you want to play a longer game. I'll recommend Phantasy Star 2, which you can get on the Sonic's Ultimate Collection. Strangely enough, Afterburner 2 is not on that disc, though. Afterburner Climax is a downloadable game from Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. Sega Genesis owners are left out, sadly. I guess we'll just have to play our Afterburner 2 cartridges over and over and over again, which is fine by me. We're watching the 360 version, and gameplay is just smooth. Lots of explosions, lots of stuff going on, and you just cruise right through it. You've got 3 jets to choose from, F-18, F-14, and F-15, but no Veritech fighter. Whoa, getting dizzy. Hopefully they'll have some downloadable content add-ons for this game. I'd like to play as a Veritech fighter, TIE fighter, or at least Voltron. But I think Afterburner Climax speaks for itself with the visuals. What you see here is what you get, and damn is it fun.
Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I bring you the review of Mushi Pork and Pink Sweets for Xbox 360. Is it as delicious as it sounds? Let's find out. Muchi. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but this game gets off to a good start because after you're destroyed, you are rewarded with a plate of meat. More games should give you some smoking hot sausage after you're blown up. Now, I tend to prefer my spaceship shooters with a little bit less underage cleavage, but it's the Japanese, so, you know, we'll cut them some slack here, because Cave has put out 2 good games on one disc for one not so low price. At least not anymore. This one will set you back quite a few bucks, but if you like Cave shooters, I'm sure it's worth it because the presentation is really nice and they give you lots of options. So regardless of your skill level, you can tailor the game to suit your play style. So, what are we doing here? We're flying around as a girl in her underwear who's riding a pig, shooting things that turn into pigs and drop pigs wearing parachutes. I would love to see a collaboration between Cave and Team Ninja. Like, that would be really interesting. I can't say that the art style or music really win me over here with this one, but the gameplay is certainly challenging. Albeit a bit complicated for my taste in the genre. I looked online to figure out how to play the game. I can't read the instructions. And there's numerous ways to score points depending on which one of your 2 shots that you're using, but for the most part, I just struggle to stay alive. I like these games, but I'm not that good at them. At some point, my eyes just start to glaze over and everything looks the same. I can't tell what's a shot and what's a parachuting pig. It's hard to explain the details when I don't fully understand them, so I'll direct you to the internet if you want to learn more about the specifics. However, I will say it's fun. I'm playing this with my Dream Arcade's Dream Stick for the Xbox 360 to get that real arcade feel. It plays great. We've got 3 young ladies to choose from, all with different speeds and attack patterns. A standard shot, a super shot, which I think is called the large shot. And your bomb is like a super robot that walks out into the middle and just starts hammering on things. Like, what are their development meetings like? You know what this game needs? More pigs! And tits. On that note, let's head over to Pink Sweets, which removes the pork, but adds more girls in their underwear. EDF. It's not a contest, since you get both games on one disc anyway, but I think this one just plays better and is a bit more fun. However, I'm sure that's subjective. In Pink Sweets, you choose one of 4 ladies. Actually, there's more than that, because I think one of the ships is piloted by 2 girls. There's a trick here where you can charge up your front laser and collect enemy shots and then explode that as a super shot, which is really handy for defense. There's no shortage of colors on screen or distracting backgrounds to choose from. While I'll really only recommend this collection for those of you who are serious about your vertical scrolling arcade shooters, Muchi Pork and Pink Sweets does pack a ton of gameplay and replay value. Obviously, you can save your high scores. You can even flip the screen if you want to go all vertical with your monitor. Don't forget that you can change the formation of the rotating flowers around your lady flying with lasers. And I'm sure there's some more depth I haven't figured out here yet either. My scores are never even remotely the same. And I've got a Classic Game Room shout out and thank you to send all the way to Felicity from Worcestershire, England. Again, thank you, Felicity. Everyone say thank you to Felicity for sending so many amazing games and game systems to the show. One of the reasons I feel like this show must go on somehow is because of the generosity of Felicity and so many other people like her. So thank you. So I would say if you think it looks good, hunt this game down online. Try not to overpay if possible. That's stating the obvious, but it seems like prices vary wildly. This is a Japanese game that will play on your US Xbox 360 at least. Good times, and I think it speaks for itself. It's Muchi Pork and Pink Sweets. Choose your Space Marine and go to work. It's Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. A twin-stick style shooter like Robotron 2084 with thousands of enemies to annihilate in a variety of fun and entertaining ways. This is a downloadable title being played on Xbox 360, and if you enjoy games like Robotron, Smash TV, or even some of the newer releases like Lara Croft Guardian of Light, then you'll dig Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. The weapon I was just using is called the Burner, which is like a super concentrated flamethrower. Extra points right there. There's 4 characters to choose from when playing Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. Each one has different strengths. Some are better at annihilating enemies with close range attacks, others are better shooting them at a distance. As you play through the campaign mode, you unlock upgrades and new survival levels. Yes, there's also a survival mode. And while I'm playing a single-player game here, one of the nicest features in Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team is multiplayer co-op gameplay, which I would highly recommend, because there's a lot of missions where you'll want one guy destroying things, like giant engines or cannons or something, and then somebody else clearing out waves of enemies trying to attack you. In the campaign mode, you're given objectives and then met with increasingly difficult waves of enemies. Note that you're being scored, and you can play each level over and over again with the different Space Marines or your friends, providing infinite replay value if you enjoy playing these games for points. There are score increases for killing multiple enemies quickly. The character I'm playing with here is the Librarian. He's the smart one. That carries the sword, which is on fire. He's my favorite for close range attacks, but pretty much useless when trying to destroy things at a distance. In addition to your gun and close range attack, each of the Space Marines has grenades and a special weapon, which in the case of the Tech Marine is a robotic sentry gun turret that eliminates enemies, giving you some cover fire. The Librarian nukes all of the bad guys within a certain range.
Rapid fire.
What more can I say? This game is an explosive good time. It's really fun. You upgrade Space Marines, light enemies on fire, and hack them to pieces while also blowing them up. And the controls work well. I'd say Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team gets it right. And the title is cool, too. I like the giant claw that he hits people with. I'll have to get one of those installed for daily use. It's
Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team highly recommended.
This is X-Men Origins Wolverine. Why does Aquaman never get a game like this? Wolverine is my favorite member of the X-Men, so it's fantastic to see him in all of his intense, violent glory here. This is a fast-paced, non-stop, action-packed video game. Available on pretty much every game console out there and PC. This is the Xbox 360 version that we're watching.
If you see him, contact Central Command.
We were genetically engineered to kill guys like you.
They become even more powerful. To the point where they determine we're no longer necessary. The incident with the
standout features of X-Men Origins Wolverine are the control system and overall playability. The gameplay is fast, intense, ferocious, non-stop, and terribly fun. It's fast, it slows down, it speeds up, it's all over the place, yet somehow it feels incredibly well balanced. It has some of the most intuitive, well-laid-out, well-designed controls that I've ever seen for a fast-paced action game like this, where you have numerous combos and special attacks and throws and leaps and jumps and lock-ons. After playing for a while, I became familiar with the controls to the point where I'm doing things without even thinking about it. I hate memorizing button combos. I never once got the feeling I was memorizing anything in this game. It just felt natural, slashing people's heads off and stuff. This whole thing is just very well designed. It's not the greatest technical achievement from the graphical standpoint. It's a bit choppy at times, and the cutscenes and animation aren't really up to par with the rest of the game. I wish they would have gone with more of a comic book style artwork rather than straight up computer graphics. But that's a minor point. This is one of those games that I was not immediately impressed with, but after playing it for about a half hour to an hour, I got sucked into it. It's thoroughly addictive, and it feels very much like an arcade-style hack-and-slash adventure game, which is a hell of a lot of fun. As you tear your way through the game, you slice and dice your enemies into little chunks and then earn experience points. You level Wolverine up, you can increase his health and strength, and decide how to apply the various upgrades that you earn through the game.
Hey, Doc. If this turns out to be a trap, I will hunt you down.
Then I have nothing to worry about.
It's a terrific button masher, but at the same time it does require some strategy and definite skill and mastery of the control system. While the controls are easy to use, you can block, counter, jump, roll out of the way. You need to combine all this stuff to defeat some of the end bosses or harder sections of the game. It's one of those games that feels challenging but not frustrating when it gets difficult.
Sakes, get off your knees and start begging for your life. Hostile targeted!
Give me your best.
There he is! By the door!
If you enjoy the X-Men and Wolverine and like action-packed, violent, fast-paced video games, there's a good chance you'll love this game. It's pretty much like what you see on screen. There's no real hidden underlying problems, unless some occasional jerkiness in both the gameplay and animation freaks you out, which it shouldn't, because it's really rewarding when you spin yourself around like a helicopter and just mutilate everybody in a half-mile radius. That's a lot of fun.
Floodgates are now open.
I keep using the word fun because that's really what they've achieved here. I've played smarter games, I've played better games, but this one is damn fun. Now, if only the Lush and Potty Mouth could get their own video game. They're lesser-known superheroes. It's a long story. It's good to see that guy got another job after The Lord of the Rings. Some of those bad guys just fade away into obscurity, but not the golem thing. The release of the game coincides with the release of the movie, but this does not fall into the pit that many movie-related games do. It can easily stand on its own. Classic Game Room time, where I bring you lots of pointing at the camera and button mashing fun. This is 99 Nights, or N3, on your Xbox 360. When 97 nights just isn't enough, and 98 nights is right out, 99 nights is there for you. What a terrible video game title. What were they thinking? Look at this guy's hair. It defies gravity. What does he use? His strut has an air of confidence to it. I think he's a Head and Shoulders kind of guy. Oh, it's another one of these games, released in 2006 for the Xbox 360. N3, or 99 Nights, has a pretty heavy dose of cheese, but still manages to be a pretty good Dynasty Warriors knockoff. And I'm a total sucker for these kinds of games. I love them. Can't get enough Dynasty Warriors or clones of Dynasty Warriors.
The threat of an uprising remains. We must neutralize them before they come.
This is another example of one of these games where instead of having bad actors voicing bad CGI, they should have had bad actors acting in front of a cardboard set, like the 1990s full motion video games. That would have been way better. But I love the character names, which are like a giant word scramble. We're fighting as Umfifi versus Draconis. So what do you do in this game? Well, like Dynasty Warriors, you mash buttons and slaughter thousands of enemies. On your way to battle some officers and eventually end bosses, all the while collecting weapons and upgrades. It's not bad, and it's a fairly lengthy and surprisingly challenging game. You only start with one character, and have to unlock the rest of them. And it'll take a lot longer to level up here than it does in the Dynasty Warriors, but let me be clear, something like Warriors Orochi 3 just blows this away. However, 99 Nights is just slightly different enough from the other Dynasty Warriors games to make it somewhat interesting. And like most of the 360 games these days, it's pretty cheap to collect. I love that you can cause death and destruction on a biblical scale here. Most of the combos are fairly easy to pull off, but the end bosses can be tricky. Others are just downright wacky. Who doesn't love Fak the Third? I mean, it's a giant frog king end boss. That alone makes this game worth buying. If more games had the balls to put frog kings in them, I think the world would be a better place. So much of 99 Nights feels unfinished. It's like a rough draft of an Xbox 360 game. When you're slaughtering enemies, you can barely tell which ones are the enemies and which ones are your friends. Thankfully, you can't attack your teammates, but you'll often find yourself looking for that one remaining bad guy in a sea of your friends, and you just can't spot them because there's no real indicator. They look exactly the same. When you hack and slash your way through enemies, they release red orbs that fill up that little red meter on the bottom left. When full, you can unleash a super special attack that, when used to slaughter enemies, releases blue orbs. When you fill the blue power meter, you can really go nuts. There's a sequel called 99 Nights 2, or N32, which is an even sillier title. I reviewed that years ago and enjoyed it. If you can't get enough button mashing, hack and slash Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors or Dynasty Warriors Gundam style gameplay, then I recommend checking this one out. It's got some challenge that's a little bit different than the other ones. It definitely starts off slower because you've only got one character, but it's a little harder too. You gotta watch out for some of these missions that take 25-30 minutes to play through, only to get to the end and die from a cheap end boss hit, which then sends you all the way back to the beginning. There's no checkpoints. Otherwise, it's a nice game. Not great, but good for the genre. And I've got a classic Game Room shout out and thank you to send to Chris from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Thank you, Chris, for sending 100 nights -1. After each mission, you're scored a rating, as you saw, and you can go back and play the missions again and try to get an A or an S rating, which helps to unlock some new weapons and whatnot. It's a fun game. If you like the genre and can find it for cheap, maybe you're down with something a little different. Don't think it's going to be better than Warriors Orochi 3, because it's not, but it is 99 Nights for the 360.
Just enough to carry out the iron war of the Temple Knights. Here I come!
This review has been approved by Lord Carnage. Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. I don't know about you, but I distrust geometric shapes, which is why I love Geometry Wars 3 being played here on the Xbox 360. It's payback time, dumbass dodecahedrons. Eat laser. In this incredible twin-stick shooter available on numerous game systems, including Xbox One and PlayStation 4. If you've played the previous Geometry Wars games, you'll be right at home with this one, except they've added even more stuff, upgrades, super special weapons, new kinds of levels, and the production values are even higher. What you do is simple. Shoot everything and stay alive. Try to collect those little green things to increase your multiplier. You'll want that. If you're going for a super high score, which you should be, that's what you do in this game. It's like an arcade game. You're playing for big points.
There's no plot to speak of except for my personal vendetta against shapes, especially rhombuses. The music is kicking, the visuals are stunning, and the controls are outstanding. It's like Robotron 2084 or Smash TV meets Tron. And you can't go wrong with that, except this game could use more big prizes like VCRs. What we're looking at here is a boss battle, and you unlock these by collecting stars. How do you earn stars, you may ask? Well, you have to play the game well. You can't just buy your way through it with those DLC unlock packs that are so common these days. This one will take a bit of persistence, a bit of patience, some skill, but it's not frustrating. It's actually an extremely approachable game. It starts off easy and then throws you to the wolves quickly, but as you progress through Geometry Wars 3, you'll upgrade your ship and all of your super special weapons, like a battering ram, another gun turret. How about the super point collector? I like that thing. Geometry Wars 3 mixes up the familiar Geometry Wars style gameplay with some interesting levels like this one. How about the sniper levels? They're tough. You've only got so much ammo to use. You gotta stealth kill the enemies up close to get new lasers. I'd say the developers did an amazing job of not breaking what wasn't broken to begin with, but also adding new stuff that enhances it. Geometry Wars 3 is the best yet, and if you've played the other games, you'll love this one. But for the newcomers, it's also a great place to start. Dive in and start murdering shapes. I like this level where you can only fire from within the bubbles. This game is great. Just download it today. You won't be disappointed. Unless you're a geometric shape sympathizer, but then we're not on speaking terms. Oh, those snakes are like light cycles. Gotta watch out for them. Geometry Wars 3, highly recommended. That's what we in the business call a ghetto blaster, otherwise known as Soundwave. Although being a true evil Decepticon, instead of playing cassettes in this game, he plays illegally downloaded music files.
Get ready to crumble before rumble!
Ugh, these little guys are so annoying!
First we crack the shell, then we crack the nuts inside!
Dare to be stupid? I think not. This is Transformers War for Cybertron, a game that's taken me by complete surprise, because if you've watched this show before, you know I'm a huge fan of Transformers, old school 1980s Transformers. So first of all, I can't believe this game was made at all, because this has far more in common with the 1980s cartoons, the comic books, and Transformers the movie, the 1987 animated film, than the newer live-action Transformers films, which are entertaining enough, but...
Wheat, Progna, Wheat, Ninny Bomb. What was that? That's the universal greeting. I don't think it worked. We have nothing to fear, Autobots. The slugs will count us as friends.
If you grew up with Generation 1 Transformers, the comic books, cartoons, and toys, blow the new movies away. This game is like the best of both worlds, though. It has the same kind of production value that we would expect for a big-budget Transformers video game or movie these days, combined with the old-school Transformers. If you remember later in the cartoon series when most of the action was taking place on Cybertron, or if you're familiar with Transformers the movie, you'll immediately fall in love with this game, because this game takes place prior to the Transformers landing on Earth. Because there was civil war on Cybertron, no doubt instigated by the producers of the TV show. Because frankly, it would have been boring if they all got along. Now, you don't have to be an old-school Transformers fan to enjoy Transformers War for Cybertron, which brings me to the second reason I'm surprised. In the shadow of the new movies, we just happened to get a Transformers game based on Cybertron that also happens to be one of the best action games of 2010. This has very little in common with 2009's video game Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. It's a completely different game. Now, that game was fun because it was Transformers and it was well made, but the missions were a bit bland, and multiplayer wasn't that great. If Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was Bumblebee, Transformers War for Cybertron is Unicron. Now, I know there's many of you that just simply don't get that reference, and you probably grew up after Transformers, the movie, the 1987 animated film. Now's the time to watch it because you'll appreciate how much the developers of this game love Transformers. They just love the whole Cybertron thing. I think that you can clearly tell they get it. Completely unexpected, because I always felt that the whole Cybertron part of the Transformers story was never really all that well represented. The only possible downside I can really point at with this game is that it has the same problem that the cartoons did back in the day, which is when they get to Cybertron, everything pretty much looks the same, because it's one big mechanical moving planet. So while there's an immense amount of detail and things constantly moving and rotating and grinding and sparking in every part of the screen, after a while, it just all blends together. That's not the fault of the designers, that's actually true to the original representation of Cybertron from the cartoons and Transformers the movie. But as I said, unless you're the GoBots, you don't even have to like Transformers to enjoy this game. All you have to do is like a good action game, one that has an immense campaign mode, complete with 5 Decepticon and 5 Autobot missions, which are lengthy, to say the least. You can play with up to 2 of your friends online, making a total 3-person co-op game. And there's an all-new multiplayer mode and survival mode, which I'll cover in part 2 of the review.
Ratchet, but be aware. It looks as though the next wave...
Now, watching this on screen, I think that Transformers War for Cybertron speaks for itself. We're watching the Xbox 360 version. If I had to describe this to someone, I think that it reminds me of Gears of War 2 mixed with Transformers, except without the reliance on the whole duck and cover system. Because why would you duck and cover when you can just transform into a tank? This is also much harder than the previous Transformers game. About halfway through each of the campaigns, the enemies start to put up one hell of a fight, and if you're heavy on the trigger, you'll be constantly running out of ammunition.
On your own, Sideswipe. No one will miss you.
Just ask.
The control room is just up ahead.
In terms of gameplay, Transformers War for Cybertron doesn't do anything that you haven't seen before. However, everything that it does well, and it does it with Transformers. And cool ones that you probably aren't even expecting to see in a video game.
Systems weak. Repairs required.
This is also on PlayStation 3 and PC, and other versions of the game are available for Nintendo DS and Wii. I'll see you back here in part 2 of the review. Transformers War for Cybertron. This game has got the touch.
Me from the foul influence. Destroy them, you fools!
I can't decide whether to continue reviewing or just sing along with this song. Who else has goosebumps? It may not be You've Got the Touch, but it does come close. Although miles away from Dare to Be Stupid, let's be honest, Weird Al was the man. Whoa, time to transform. What we're watching here is Transformers multiplayer. This is Transformers The War for Cybertron multiplayer over Xbox Live. This game works well in multiplayer, however it does suffer from unbelievably boring maps. Please give us some new map packs with more color. Other than that, it's well set up and I had no connection or lag problems in my games. You can sort of create your own Transformer. I named mine Carnage Bot. You can also play as the Transformers from the game, including a couple that you unlock, like RC from Transformers the movie. You've got to give RC credit as one of the only female Transformers. Surrounded by a bunch of hormone-crazed guys that transform into tanks, she holds her own and kicks ass. She so totally wants Hot Rod. Because she's a huge fan of The Breakfast Club. Man, everybody was in that movie. Spock, Citizen Kane, the Micro Machines guy, and one part of Monty Python. You can't go wrong with Transformers the movie. Now, I don't know that I would recommend running out and buying Transformers War for Cybertron exclusively for multiplayer because while it works, it's not the highlight of the game. The campaign mode is the highlight of Transformers War for Cybertron because it's just amazing. And you can play it co-op, and I don't know, I just liked it so much I could play it again and again and again because I like Transformers and I like this game. What's even better than multiplayer, though, is the escalation mode. It's like the Call of Duty zombie levels from World at War. Very similar, or like Horde from Gears of War 2, Firefight from ODST. The survival mode just never gets old for me. It most closely resembles Activision's own Call of Duty World at War because you have to purchase your weapons and health with experience earned during the gameplay, as wave after wave of enemies attack you from every direction. In fact, if you like the Call of Duty World at War zombie survival levels and the Transformers game, you'll obviously be quite happy with this. I had no problem finding a couple games out there to play in, but like any survival mode, people always drop out and then you're left, being eaten by zombies, or in this case, robots. So you're probably best off playing with your friends, but it's just so much fun when you do. And for the record, I'm disappointed that Soundwave does not transform into a cassette player boombox, blasting enemies with bad music. And that concludes the review. Transformers War for Cybertron gives you an incredible campaign mode that you can play co-op with up to 3 people total, with you and 2 of your friends. You get multiplayer, which is not the highlight of the game, but it works, and it does work well. And even better than that is the escalation mode, which is basically the survival mode from Call of Duty World at War with zombies, except with Transformers. An excellent job, and they even left it open for a sequel if you know Transformers, the cartoon. You already know where it's going, and I hope to be fighting some Decepticons on top of a dam for Energon cubes, and please, it's time for the Dinobots to get their own game at this point. Grimlock has an ego that can't be contained. This is Divinity II, quite a monster of a video game. Literally, this is one of those games that some people will love, while other people will get frustrated quickly and never want to see it again. I'm somewhere in the middle on this one because while I enjoy certain aspects of the game, the developers clearly expect players to spend a lot of time playing it and investigate every nook and cranny of this massive world that they've created.
Another one to add to the collection.
It can be a bit much at times, but if you like to explore a gigantic world full of quests and monsters and things to slay, with a complex plot and numerous subplots, take a close look at this one.
Hey, who are you? I mean, welcome. Forgive me, stranger. It's not very often I get visitors.
The girl now be brought back to life. It is Damien who will die. That was Talana's crest. Now it is yours.
This is from the same publisher as Sacred 2, one of my favorite games from 2009. Sacred 2 is a massive role-playing exploration game where you can level your character up and stuff, but it basically holds your hand the whole way through the game. It's always very, very clear what you were supposed to do in Sacred 2. Divinity 2 bites your hand, and then when it's done with that, it starts gnawing at your knees. For a console game, it's so complex that they even tell you during some loading screens if you're stuck to visit their website. I've seen some people complaining about the combat in Divinity 2. That didn't really bother me that much. It doesn't stand out in any way, but what bothered me is that you have to search everything in this game. Everything from desks to jars, corners, tables, dead bodies, you name it, and you have to point at it each time. And when we're talking about searching 100 different jars in a dungeon, that gets old fast. And if you miss something, then you can't open a door, for example. And keys in particular needed to unlock important things are about 4 pixels large. They're practically impossible to spot in this massive, cluttered environment. I've had an easier time finding my real car keys. Seriously, like make them sparkle or something. Like they do in BioShock. There's this one part in the game where you have to take out several pieces of lettuce from a pot to find an important item laying in the pot. Some people will love this. It kind of drove me crazy.
My wounds are grave.
My other big issue with this game is that eventually you turn into a dragon, and they give you a sneak peek at this early in the game. And it's really cool because you can fly around as a dragon and burn people. But 10 hours into the game, I'm stuck in Maxos' temple or whatever, and I'm still not able to turn into a dragon. As I said, some people will love this because it is a challenge. And it's a cool fantasy adventure. But don't expect to be anywhere quickly. The things that really make this game good are somewhat lost in the things that make it tedious. Leveling your character up, for example. There's not randomly generating enemies in this game. When you wipe out all of the orcs or ogres or whatever in a certain area, they're gone, which is probably more realistic, but if you want to just get your character strengthened up for a big fight, you've got to solve quests, some of which are kind of boring. I'd rather just slay hundreds of monsters like I did in Sacred 2. Make that thousands of monsters. That game is just a monster-slaying carnival. That's what this one could have used. Because the environment is beautiful. It's a really good-looking game, very imaginative. The story is told through books that you'll pick up laying around, and there's some cutscenes with characters, very rich and detailed. But the environment is what steals the show here. Very nice design on the buildings, and armor and the landscape and whatnot. That stuff's really cool. But as much as I respect that, and as much as I enjoy a fantasy world, I would have preferred to explore it more through chaos, destruction, and swordplay. But that's just me. Well, probably not just me. I imagine a lot of you will feel the same way. There's nothing a minigun and flamethrower can't solve in a magical land of adventure.
Running low on mana. Shiny.
Alright, I like that you can kick the chickens and kill them for experience points, and then pick up a chicken leg, which increases your health. But you can't hack and slash the pigs. By this logic, shouldn't I be able to get a ham sandwich out of one of those pigs? Or at least some bacon? Divinity II does have a nice sense of humor about it, and the writing style is very similar, actually, to the Sacred 2 game I've been talking about. Good old sarcasm in the dialogue. And you can select some goofy responses to things. There is a lot to like about this game, but you really have to be into it to appreciate it. Which is why I can't ever tell you yes or no, it's good, it's bad. The game claims to have 60 hours of gameplay. I think that's a low number. I think it's 60 hours if you know what you're doing. Maybe it's 60 hours if you know every basket that every important item is in. But you don't, you have to look in every corner. If you're into playing a game where you really have to take notes about a few things, like who you talk to, what you have to do, where something is, well, you get your money's worth in Divinity II. This is on PC, it's on Xbox 360. We're watching the Xbox 360 version. To end the review, my guy will take a leap of faith, see if his legs are strong enough to survive the impact